All points are not created equal, even when it comes to your morning latte. Starbucks takes a jolt out of its reward program again with a new twist that may remind you of another industry where rewards get so complicated, people start planning out strategies. That and so much more on this edition of Money in the Morning. And welcome to Money in the Morning. I'm Bobby Rebel from the Financial Grown Up Podcast, coming to you from my very grown up kitchen in New York City.
And from the Motor City in my mom's half-finished basement, I'm Joe Saul-Sehy from Stacking Benjamins.
And this is the podcast where we take the buzziest headlines and we don't just read them like some podcasts. We get into why they matter to you and we give you something that you can make it your own.
Big company today, Bobby. Changing the game. Say it ain't so.
It is so, Joe. Yes, it is.
That's absolutely horrible, but we have to talk about it. We'll talk about rewards today. So, Laura, why don't you kick this thing off?
Good morning. You supply the coffee. We'll bring the headlines. Here they come.
Let's talk about Starbucks. And this headline comes, being that I am in New York, it comes from New York Magazine. Is New York Magazine, by the way, Joe, even kind of, is that something that people read outside of New York, or am I just being completely self-centered and narcissistic focused as a New Yorker here, pulling this New York Magazine thing?
Like that popular...
No, I don't even know. Is New York Magazine national?
That popular poster where there's like Manhattan and then the West Coast like right behind it. Yeah. No, actually, New York Magazine I've read many times. Some good writing at New York Magazine.
It's very good writing. I enjoy it a lot. We don't usually source New York Magazine, so I'm excited for the story. It is titled "Why Starbucks is Changing Its Reward Program, again," by Josh Barrow. Here we go. It seems to happen every few years now at every company with a customer loyalty program. The rules change and people get upset. This time, the changes are at Starbucks. Until yesterday, you earned 2 stars for every dollar that you spent at Starbucks. And once you accrued 125 stars, you got to cash them in for any drink you wanted. So just pause there. What's the biggest? Do you like play this game, Joe, where you try to get the biggest, most expensive drink you can? Because I full disclosure, I absolutely do. Everything else, I'm always saying, don't just get the tall, get the small. There's actually a small that's smaller than the tall. And I always tell people when you go to Starbucks, just get the even smaller one. And when it comes to the free one, though, I'm all about the venti.
We should talk about this because the one thing that I don't do is play the Starbucks rewards at all, which is sad because and it's partly because of the fact, because I work out of the basement and I don't leave home a ton. And when I do, it's usually later in the day. So I don't go to Starbucks a ton, but because it's free, I totally should do that. So I don't even know how to play the game. Like you're talking in this language, Bobby, that I know nothing about.
All right. We will educate Joe, everyone. We're going to read a little bit more of the piece. Now, in much the same way that an airline will, and listen to the sentence, that an airline will charge you more frequent flyer miles to get to Tokyo than to Toledo, Starbucks is tiering its redemption options by cost. So for 25 stars, this is going to get very complicated, Joe. For 25 stars, you can get a flavor shot or a specialty kind of milk in your beverage. For 50 stars, a drip coffee or a baked item. I have to pause and give everyone one little nugget of information. If you ask for a specialty milk while you are ordering, they will charge you for it. If after you receive, let's say, a drip coffee, you just kind of casually go to the bar and say like, "Oh, can I get some soy milk?" Free.
Oh, look at that.
Great value at Money in the Morning here.
You're welcome, everybody. You're welcome.
Here's the part that has people upset. The any drink you want reward now costs 150 stars. And I don't know if we lost it in the article because I do know this, sadly. It used to be 125 stars. Essentially, Starbucks used to give you a free drink of your choice after $62.50 in spend. Now you have to spend $75. So if you want that everything, whatever you want, order anything off the menu, it's now gone up. I mean, I think people are calling foul on this. And by the way, this went all over Twitter.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
I'm sure people shaking. Oh my, the world is falling. It's all ending.
All right. So Starbucks is trying to spin this and they're like, well, we're making it more flexible because you can get a reward sooner. You can get that flavor shot for just, 25 points. people aren't having it because come on.
Well, what's the purpose? You think of the purpose of an award program, and if you're somebody that owns a business, thinking about how do you reward your customers and ongoing customers, of course, it's going to be something like this. But the reason is to get them to continue to come. But man, if I look at the average Starbucks line, they've already got you. Like they don't need to encourage people to come more because I'll go at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and it's 5 people deep. So encouraging people to come more to Starbucks, I mean, they can easily afford to do this. And you look at, to you and I, this might be a couple dollars. To Starbucks, I bet they're saving tons of money by making this change.
Well, they are. And this article and a number of other articles point out the economics of it. And we don't need to get into it too much, but basically, they can get you to come in and it doesn't cost them that much more to give you a free shot of, a flavor in your coffee, right? It costs nothing, maybe a penny, I don't know. But to give you a free drink, including the time that it takes someone to make it, that is a real cost to Starbucks. So by getting people to do these little small rewards, first of all, there's also the psychological, the little endorphin hit of, oh, I got something free.
Yeah.
I won. They want you to always feel like you won, but you won the right to buy the drink you were always going to probably buy anyway, only they'll give you a free shot of flavor or whatever it is. And you may never have tried the flavors before anyway. So they're actually doing that thing that a lot of companies do where they give you a free trial and then you're going to end up upgrading to the free shot, which costs, I don't even know what, I don't do those, but let's say it's 50 cents every time you go. So now they've enticed you to make a bigger purchase at each store visit.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of red flags here for consumers.
And that's interesting. I think we need to recognize those flags and what they're doing on their end, because obviously they don't offer these reward programs because they're being super generous. I mean, don't get me wrong. They want you to spend more money more often. And so I love that. I love the idea of getting, from a business owner end, getting people to spend little bits of money. In fact, it's funny. I was reading a piece. Oh my goodness. And I'm not going to have the name of it, but it was a huge study that if you buy from a place one time, your trust level of that brand goes through the roof. So if they can encourage you to make a very small purchase or give you a very small reward and you accept it, not only is they're going on what you're talking about, Bobby, you immediately trust the brand more. Like in your head, you're like, oh, I trust Starbucks more, so I'm going to shop here more often.
Right. There's all kinds of data showing that once you have a customer, very often it's easier to get more revenue from the customer you already have than to acquire a new customer. So I think Starbucks kind of knows what they're doing. But I want to also flip this the other way and talk about from the consumer mindset what this means, because points, whether it's, they mentioned airline points, for example, in this piece, you could talk about hotel points, any kind of reward points. It is effectively a currency. I mean, I've heard people, Joe, talking, if people are splitting up, who gets the airline points, because there is a value to these points. So a lot of the Twitter, the tweets that were upset about this were like, well, wait, I was a green level star. It's very complicated, Joe. There's different levels of customers. We're not going to go into that, but people felt their status was gone. They thought their points disappeared, but they were replaced by different points, but they didn't understand it. This is currency to people, and it's currency that the consumer does not control and effectively can go poof at any time if they decide to discontinue. I had my cable company is discontinuing one of their programs. So if I don't use the points by a certain date, that there's an email that sort of went through my spam filter that warned me I don't get those free movies that I might have, quote, earned. So when you're dealing with somebody else's currency, you need to be aware that you are not in control of the value, and it could change they can change the rules at any time.
Well, let's even broaden it even more. I love that point. But if you just broaden it, like playing the rewards game at all, like I think about the fact that if my problem is day-to-day budget and I'm really worried about the Starbucks reward program, I should probably do a different reward program where I reward myself by taking a different route to work so I don't go by Starbucks at all. And I heard this the other day that that a great idea for budgeting is to look at those emotional budget decisions. And as an example, filling up your car with gas, not emotional at all. You don't go on a spending spree to go put more gas in your car because you had a bad.
My car with gas.
Yeah, you had a bad day. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get some Exxon Mobil, retail therapy. You don't do that, but you do it with Starbucks. Had a bad day.
I am right there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Passed like 4 Starbucks on the way to pick up my child from school.
So
in 10 blocks. It's bananas.
So if you're emotional about it, find a different way where you don't go by those trigger points. I mean, that's a big thing. But the other thing, just reward games in general, I think that generally, Bobby, starts with know yourself, right? I mean, if you're somebody who is going to put a bunch of money on a credit card so you get the credit card reward points and you're not going to pay it off every month, you shouldn't play that game at all.
No, I agree. And it's important to understand that when you're putting your trust in someone else, you ultimately don't control that. I mean, you can talk about credit card rewards as you're talking about now. You can talk about things like people talk about Bitcoin. It's not something people fully understand. We don't really know, you don't really have the trust in where some people don't. I shouldn't say I'm not judging Bitcoin per se, but in a currency that you don't understand, you're not in control.
Yeah.
And that needs to be factored into how much you value it and how much risk you want to take in putting your energy into that. That said, it will be interesting to see. We have so many bloggers and websites and discussion about the value of airline points. Is there going to be, as this gets more complicated with Starbucks, because it is complicated now, or is there going to be people that sort of talk about the strategy behind maximizing your Starbucks rewards? Because I mean, they literally, it used to cost $62.50 to get a free drink that could have been worth up to $6, I guess is the most expensive drink. Maybe someone out there knows if there's a more expensive drink. Now it's 75. I can't do the math in my head, but that's a nice percentage jump in how much more you have to spend. And people get upset when the airlines change the rules on how much it costs to buy an airline ticket. Will we see podcasts discussing strategies for your Starbucks reward points?
Somebody's buying that URL right now, like maxyourstarbucksrewards.com or something. Somebody's buying it. When it comes to playing these games, I know talking with my friend Nick Clements at Magnify Money, he talks about play, especially if it's a credit card reward game. Try to play one and get good at it because of the fact that you get tiered rewards. They become much better. You look at airline rewards, they become better. Or stick with just cash back. Because cash back, and he says if you get less than 2% cash back, you're leaving money on the table. Cash back can be used for anything. So as an example, Cheryl and I like to travel. We just moved from Texas, where it was American Airlines, to Detroit, which is a Delta hub. So we had an American Airlines card. We just flipped that over now to a Delta card. We're finishing spending those points that we accumulated of American right now, and doing our spending on Delta. And once again, if we didn't pay that card off in full every month, those reward points are made so that they make more money. They want me to overspend on that card to get these, quote, free airline miles. And to your point, I like this, and it's to get icing on the cake. It's not the cake. I mean, I love your idea about you're not in control. So if Delta changes the game on me, okay, I paid my credit card bill in full. I used somebody else's money for maybe 20, 25 days. So I got the convenience of the credit card. I still did the responsible thing, and icing on the cake when let's say next year I go to Tokyo, as they were talking about Tokyo here recently. If I go to Japan, maybe I get to fly one leg for free.
Yeah. And from the business's perspective, they're smart to have these tiers because once you are an acquired customer, which is the biggest cost to them, they want to do everything they can to incentivize you to stay with them. And so moving their best customers up to get the best rewards in sort of a compounding way is really smart business. And as a consumer, you should be aware of that. And as your friend at Magnify Money said, focus on that. If you are consolidating in one place, you're going to be rewarded for that because it's good business for them.
I think that's our takeaway is specifically that reward points, maybe. How about that? Let's see what people are saying on Facebook. We've got a chatty group with us today. Paul asked, don't other coffee shops deliberately set up near Starbucks, same mentality as car dealership locations?
Yes.
You've seen studies?
I have not seen studies, but I do believe, at least in New York City, where we have a density of coffee shops, I absolutely believe that they do. And in fact, when I'm sometimes waiting, I have sometimes little 2-hour gaps and I have to do some work between different things as a mom, because I do have a young child that I have to bring to different activities. I will see across from a Starbucks an independent coffee shop, and I will often go there and have a coffee and basically set up there to work for 2 hours, because I find it's a lot quieter at other coffee shops, sometimes less going on, less activity than at a Starbucks.
I have an app on my laptop called Cafidity, which is you press the button and it sounds like you're in a coffee shop. And I have to tell you, it helps me focus. It's so amazing. That's all it does is it makes coffee shop sounds. And by the way they get you is they only give you like 2 sounds for free, and then you got to pay them if you want other sounds. Like, who needs a third coffee shop sound? I don't know. Kathy says she does the same thing you do, but does it with the extra sauce packets. Asks for the extra sauce packets. Gets those.
Oh, that's so smart. I like that.
Amy avoids the whole discussion altogether by husband drinks organic coffee from Costco at home. Well, that saves you a bunch of money right there. Forget about the rewards, Bobby. You'll save a bunch of money by doing that.
We do. Well, we have an espresso at home that I often have, but it's when I have time that I have to fill and I need a place to work and I'm in transit. That's usually when the coffee shop stuff happens, not when I'm near home.
Andy is here and says, to your point about you don't own these systems, they do, so it should be icing on the cake. Andy says, Walmart and now Starbucks changed their savings rewards. Walgreens changed theirs too. I'm ready to chuck them all and just say I don't have them. Yeah, if it's somebody else's currency, Andy, you just got to play their game because it's not your game, it's their game.
Yeah.
Good.
You can also just ignore all these programs. I mean, even Starbucks, I get annoyed because they'll push these notifications to me. And Joe, you probably don't know anything about this, but they push them to me and it'll say things like, ooh, you get an extra, and who knows what the points are worth. You get an extra 20 points if you buy 3 lattes in the next 2 days. And I'm just like, really? Do people play that game? I don't know if that's a game that I'm ever going to play.
Yeah.
It's bad enough if I go in and have a latte as a treat, as you talk about when I'm having an emotional day, or just because I want one.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I'm going to buy so many extra of whatever drink just to win some points so that after I spend $75, I can get a free drink.
But somebody does.
People do. They wouldn't do it if it didn't work.
Yeah.
But they do a lot of gamification on these Starbucks mobile app. And I think that they're very smart to do that. They also, you can order in advance so you're not waiting, which takes away another barrier. They know what they're doing there, but we need to know what we're doing too. We can fight back.
Kathy wonders if I'm joking about the Cafidity app. Go look it up, Kathy. It's a real thing. It's a Google extension. It's pretty amazing what they give it.
There's an app for everything, Kathy.
That totally proves it.
This show is created by Joe Saul-Sehy, hosted and produced by Bobby Rebell and Joe Saul-Sehy, is engineered by Caden Thompson, and all put together by a pack of well-trained ferrets down here in Joe's mom's basement. You'll find Bobby at the Financial Grown-Up Podcast and Joe at the Stacking Benjamin Show. Go say hi to them there, too. Online, visit us on Twitter at Average Joe Money and at Bobby Rebell, or come join a live recording at our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/iStackBenjamins. I know you already know this too, but Money in the Morning is for entertainment purposes only. You should not act on anything recommended by a bunch of entertainers in a basement or even a Manhattan kitchen without first consulting your financial advisor. And second, dude, have your head examined. Have headlines you'd like us to discuss? Send them to joe@stackingbenjamins.com or put them on our Stacking Benjamins closed Facebook group. This show is a collaboration of Stacking Benjamins LLC and BRK Media LLC. Copyright 2019. All rights reserved. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor Doug, and I reserve the right to always say, we'll see you next time back here on Money in the Morning.